Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? I am doing very, very well, thank you. I am, it's been crazy. Has it been crazy in your guys' work and life too? It has just been so busy. And that is why I am super late for my Around the World in 1,000 Pages book club video, and I am so sorry. But I put the book off just a tad too late, and then last week it's just been crazy. But I am super, super excited to talk to you all about Katalin Street by Magda Szabo, translated from the Hungarian by Len Rix. Now, Magda Szabo is Hungarian and very well thought of in Hungary, and she has won a number of literary awards over there. And 3 of her novels have been translated into English: The Door, Katalin Street, and Isa's Ballad. And I have read 2 now. I've read The Door and Katalin Street. And I will say that they are both freaking fantastic. And Len Rix's translation is amazing. So just a reminder, in case you are new to the book club, I start the first 10 minutes spoiler-free, then I will count you out, and then we will go into all sorts of spoilers. So this is my kind of book. So you guys know that my favorite book is stoner, and I like books that don't have to have a lot of plot. And there is not a lot of plot in this novel. But that doesn't mean things don't happen, and it doesn't mean that it's utterly compelling. It just means that this is not a book with a big war or, you know, people fleeing in some big road trip. This is about people and family and relationships and just all of that, and it's so good. Can I say that again? It's so good. This is a story of 3 families. They all live next door to each other on this street. You have the Elks family and the mother and father. The father's a teacher. They have an older daughter named Irene. Irene is sort of your straight-laced, more structured, and their younger daughter is Blanca. She's more free-willed, and she'll do what she wants and how she wants to do it. In the middle is the major, and he is in the military. And he has a son named Ballant. And then in move the Helds. The Helds are a couple that have a young daughter named Henrietta. Now, Henrietta moves into a relationship that's already established between the children, but she becomes part of sort of that group. And all of these families intertwine and become very close to each other. Henrietta is an interesting character because there's something about her. I don't know exactly, they don't really give you the details of it, but she struggles with some sort of social anxiety, or she gets very nervous in front of people, communication issues. Everybody sort of takes care of her in that extra way. Ballant is that boy next door that all the girls sort of crush on, but he has a lot of pressure on his shoulders because of who his father is. And we'll go into that all a little bit more in the spoiler section. But basically what happens is this book starts in the 1940s. There's a world war coming, and it forces sort of everybody's hands and where to move. And what eventually happens is the families are forced to leave Katalin Street for many reasons, many different, varied reasons. And they never lose their sense of how important these 3 houses and these 3 families were to who they become as adults. I will tell you that the beginning of this book is a bit confusing because you don't know who's speaking all the time, and you have to get into the rhythm of how Magda Szabo set the structure of the book. I found it really helpful and super just lovely to read the book aloud. Len Rix's translation is gorgeous. It is pitch perfect. The prose is it just sits there. There's not a lot of like stepped out dialogue. So as you guys can tell, the pages are dense, but I never felt bogged down in this book. I just felt immersed. And it goes through 1961. So there's a whole war that goes on in there, and a whole bunch of stuff that affects where these people wind up, who they are in a relationship with, and how they think of each other. And that's really the power of this story. Is there's it's no spoiler to tell you that Irene, as a young girl, was in love with Balint and was certain that she was going to marry him. And that sort of plot point informs who she is as a person. She goes on to become a very respected teacher, but her life is very rigid, and it causes her to be almost angry almost all the time. Blanca, on the other hand, is very protective of her family, and she makes some very interesting choices to defend her sister's honor, for lack of a better word. Balint becomes a doctor, and he is sort of under the pressure of being something that he didn't really want to be because his father wanted him to be. And what do you do when the relationships that you built upon are not as strong, or what you're really looking for? Maybe that's a better turn of phrase. I want to talk about Henrietta because she comes in and out through the books, and she's almost like, sort of like a Greek chorus, though solo, because she'll observe situations and give you information that you would not have otherwise, and adds sort of an omnipotence to the overall message that Magda Szabo is trying to tell us. This book it will take you into this world, these little streets in Hungary, and you will just be there. You'll be immersed in the life of these people. The book is not, I don't want to say that it's dark, but it's not happy. I mean, it's a world war in Hungary, for gosh sakes. There's a lot of stuff going on, and money is tight, and rations are tight. But there's a sense of connectedness that I came to really appreciate throughout the novel. And what will you do for people you consider family? What will you do when someone betrays you that you thought of as family? How do you say goodbye to certain members of that family when they are just gone? And yeah, so a couple of sort of hints. Well, I don't know that I should tell you that because I don't want to ruin it. So I'm going to save that for the spoiler section. And that's becoming problematic because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. But let's talk about the style. So this is a very lyrical book. The sentences jump off the page to you, and the translation just is so vivid that I knew how this street looked. I knew who these people were, and their picture and portrait was painted so well that I felt like I was a member of every household and that I was invested in every decision. What the book doesn't do that I think is fantastic is it doesn't bog you down in the war. What a lot of books do set during a war period is that the war almost becomes another character. In this book, you know that that's going on, and some things happen that are clearly a repercussion of that war. But in the same time, it never overwhelms that this is a story about people, and this is a story about relationships. And yeah, oh gosh, you guys, it's so good. Can I say that again? It's so good. What Magda Szabo is able to do is create a community where you as a reader are a member. And this will not be an easy read for everybody because it is denser than normal American fiction. It definitely has a European feel to it, and it's just beautifully cognizant of its own power. And I will say, take your time with it. It's not long. It's only like 230 pages, but it's not a book you need to rush through. And if you really want to read something that just shows you what great literature can be, Katalin Street by Magda Szabo, The Door by Magda Szabo, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to love Isa's Ballad by Magda Szabo. It's just up there, you guys. So yeah, hopefully that was enough. Because the book doesn't have a lot of plot, I don't want to give anything away to spoil it in that way. But I will say that you'll cry. You'll cry. So I'm going to move on to the spoiler section right now. So if you have not read the book and you don't want the spoiler section, you should go buy the book and read it, and then come back, because I am sure you'll want to hear everything I have to say and what everyone's talking about down below, because the book is that good. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's spoiler time. As you guys know, I think to me, the part of the book, there's 2 things that stood out to me as the tipping points. I want to talk a little bit about the Helds being taken away. They thought or believed they were going somewhere for paperwork, and it becomes clear that they were Jewish, and they disappear, and Henrietta gets left behind. I thought the power of the fact that the major and the son, and also the housekeeper, Mrs. Thames, is that her name? I can't remember. They are going to protect Henrietta. They come up with this whole elaborate scheme on how to make sure she's not taken away. But they also lie to every other member, right? Because of the groups, saying that she has been taken to her parents to flee the country. So what I thought was fantastic and also heart-wrenching is the major and Ballant and the housekeeper slash governess, they know that the Helds aren't coming back, but the people in the Elks household are not told that. And then once Henrietta is taken away, there's a big hole left by this family's disappearance. And then when Henrietta is shot, it basically is the chasm that separates Ballant from Irene. It is the chasm that clearly makes Blanca go just that extra edge over. And there's a real sense of the happiness that was this group being sucked out, which I think is so well done, in that Henrietta is the woman that is sort of mysterious, young girl actually, really. I think she's like 16 when she passes. But she kept them in sort of this sense of wonder that when she's gone, they really lose that. I also thought the thing, I talked about a little bit earlier, the fact that they don't focus on the war, but we know Ballant gets taken into and captured and is put in a hospital and a camp of some sort, and he comes back a different person. So first you have the Henrietta thing that changes him, and then he comes back as a different person. And we know that he's engaged to marry Irene, and their relationship is already super strange. Did you guys find their relationship super strange? Like this, we love each other, but separately sort of thing. But Irene is dedicated to him, right? She doesn't want her life to not involve him. So even when he comes back a different person, she expects that their world is going to go on the same way. And what Magda Szabo did so well for me is Ballant has changed. He is changed by the experiences of who he was, but he doesn't know how to vocalize it. And it finally comes across when he leaves Irene in such a vicious manner. And it's one of those instances where one person has seen a lot in the world and another person has not, and they can't understand each other. He thinks she's naive, and she thinks that he is just taking out on her something that is not applicable to their situation. I thought it was a very powerful scene, because I could imagine that really happening after this situation of him returning and then going to the hospital. He doesn't really want to be a doctor. He doesn't really want to work at the hospital. But then, spoiler again, Blanca responds in the defense of her sister by basically accusing Ballant of something that he didn't do. And because of who his father is, he gets exiled, right? And he finally finds who he wants to be. He loves that small town he goes to and becomes the doctor. He likes that world. And what's sort of poetically tragic is that the world that he was forced out of comes back to steal him back in, and he doesn't want to go. And when he comes back, he realizes he's sort of just caught in expectations that have nothing to do with him. Irene has gotten married and had a child, Kinga, which is a fantastic name. The little girl was the only character I thought that was a little bit super, super flat. She wasn't completely necessary, but she did sort of open up Irene as a mother figure, which was weird because there's no emotion to the character of Irene. All of the emotion in that family is in Blanca, right? And so Blanca's reaction to that situation, and then her father's reaction when he finds out by kicking her out, is fascinating. And then it becomes this sort of full circle, right? When Ballant gets her out of the country, I was, in the beginning, perplexed by the story of her living on the island, married to the man. How did she get there? How did it all work out? And then once at the end you figure that all out, there's a beauty to it. She was driven almost crazy by the decisions she made and the decisions of others on the family unit as she saw it. She trusted Ballant to take care of her sister. That didn't happen. So she defended her sister, which caused her family to turn on her. Well, her father, really. Her mother and her sister try to bring her back. And then he comes back, and with everything he says, right, is he is not invested in any sort of revenge. He gets her out of the country, which I thought was super fascinating. The other thing that's really sort of amazing is the ghost of Henrietta and how she comes in and out of reality and kind of is a commentary on the societies as she becomes real. And you know she's not real because no one that she knows that meets her knows her. So it just becomes sort of this figment that gives you social commentary and also omnipotent overlooking of all of the situations from someone we know and we trust and we have lost, but we don't have to say goodbye to, which I thought was really powerful. I will say that both the beginning and the ending of the book are they're like philosophical in nature, so they are a bit confusing. So I reread it, and I don't know that I completely understood it, but I definitely felt myself touched by the novel, and I've thought about it ever since I put it down, and I just think it was really, really good. Really, really good. What else do I want to talk about? Let's talk a little bit just about how good Magda Szabo is at describing where the houses are, the river, it's the Danube, correct? Is there, and sort of the walking and the less affluent neighborhoods versus the, and even like the difference between the houses on Katalin Street and the apartment that they are forced to move into. She creates scene while also moving her characters around it in such a way that it doesn't seem heavy-handed. Excuse me. And I really loved sort of just being immersed in that world. Yeah, guys, I hope you guys really like this book. I know that this is probably not in everybody's wheelhouse. I know that some of the books have been a real challenge, but I hope if you did read this book and you finished this book, you really felt a super understanding of why Magda Szabo is famous, because I really appreciate her as a writer. So that is my thoughts on Katalin Street by Magda Szabo, translated from the Hungarian by Len Rex. I hope you guys liked it so much. Yeah, I hope you guys are liking the book club. I'm really enjoying doing it. I'm sorry this one came late. I will try to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Because in the month of May, we are reading Foreign Soil by Maxine Beneba Clarke. This is our Australia pick. And I am super excited to get to this collection of short stories. My friend Chris just said he read the first one, or is it the name? Maybe the title story. And he said it was fantastic. And I am super excited about this. And now the announcement of the last book, the 6th book. We're going for an oldie but a goodie out of Latin America. And I think this is actually out of, I want to say Peru. No, Argentina. Argentina. We are going to be reading Kiss of the Spider Woman by Manuel Puig. And I'm just going to read you what this is about. So, 2 men are cellmates in an Argentinian prison. Molina is a window dresser, homosexual, sentenced to 8 years for corruption of minors. Valentin is a Marxist student, held without trial for 3 years for inciting disturbances at an auto factory. Molina is self-obsessed, self-denigrating, but charming too. He entertains himself by telling Valentin in elegant detail the plots of his favorite romantic Hollywood movies. Trapped in naive enslavement to an idea of men as powerful and responsible and strong, he sees himself as dependent, fragile, vulnerable. He identifies with the heroines of the film. Molina is haunted by the fear that his mother, the only good thing that happened to me in my life, will die of heart disease before he is released. But he is still full of sly humor, brio, delight in life. Valentine is articulate, dogmatic, filled with revolutionary fever, suppression, and shame. He has occasioned spasms of longing for ordinary comforts he has renounced, and for the memory of a girl he left because she loved him more than politics. A girl with class. Their guarded but growing friendship, which is all they have and which slowly transfigures them, is threatened as prison officials try to enlist one of them to betray the other. Now, this is a fantastic movie where William Hurt won an Oscar. And I want to say it also has Raul Julia in it. It is a phenomenal Broadway musical by Cantor and Ebb. So there's lots of different things that you guys can do with this one. It has been out forever, so you can definitely get this at your library. You can get this at your used bookstore. I got this fantastic copy at my used bookstore. And so there you go. Kiss of the Spider-Woman by Manuel Puig is going to be our 6th and final book. Okay. Last question before I let you go is, do you guys like the book club? You know, after we finish Kiss of the Spider-Woman, should I come up with a different type of book club? Should I do a book club at all? And do you like this one and want me to continue going around the world for another 1,000 pages? As always, if you're a return subscriber, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you're new and you're to my channel this first time, I hope you like this. I hope you join the book club. And until next time, happy reading, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!